Alright, so you're going to be seeing a poor Rathma Tier 0 attempt in the background. So after I determined Poison Strike, I don't think can actually do Tier 2 Declone. I switched that to Poison Nova, and I said I'm going to do some testing this season and find a class that I like that maps, that it is generally a good bosser. And I tried out Fury Druid and got a... Here, we'll even go over these. You know, in terms of bossers, I did like the Fury Druid. Got a Tomb Reaver for it. 155 is the breakpoint if you do run this. My problem with it was the shape-shifting skillers. I couldn't even find, like, 40 lifers at this point in the season. It was just impossible, and they were expensive as hell in the first place. And then, what else did I try? I tried Plague Javazon. That worked well enough. I liked the Plague Javazon. Finding a Gargoyle's Bite was pretty easy, but, again, Jav Spear skillers with life on them were kind of hard to find at this point, and it doesn't map as well as the tier lists say it does. Then I switched over to Charge Paladin and tried it with a two-hand charge, and two-hand charger was actually really good on bosses, but the mapping was annoying. You have to click so much, you couldn't just hold down, click, and hit things, and I actually didn't even get really great charms for this because I just hated the mapping style so much, though I know this one was popular. I was like, man, I hate all the bossers as mappers. They're just not, I guess, my cup of tea here. I was actually thinking about going Trap Assassin again. Then, weirdly enough, Berserk Barb. I really like this build. Surprisingly, I'm enjoying Barb, and it's on my short list to play next season. It's going to be Trap Assassin this, or, I don't know, maybe Cold Sword again. But for this build, it's a little weird because you are using Berserk, which has physical pierce on it. That's what makes it such a good bosser. It's one of the few ways to get that much physical pierce on something. You do take negative physical damage resist to yourself, though, when you attack, but the debuff on it is incredibly fast. You'll see it pop off on the bottom there and goes away. So when you're not attacking, you've got all your DR. So, you know, if you're doing declone, you can... If you get hit by some lightning, it's not the end of the world there. For the build, and I used the similar gear. I'll show you actually sort of all the gear I was using on all these physical characters. I like the Gladiator's Bane. Wapinator swears by this armor. A lot of people use it. It's kind of underrated because of the critical strike on it. When you have a lot of plus skills, like from a Grandfather, like from a Mara's, well, there you go. You don't have to stack Deadly Strike anymore. Soul Drainers I was using on almost everybody. Except, I don't even know where they went. I had Steel Rends with life on them. They're on someone. Steel Rends with life and Soul Drainers. Steel Rends were better on the Druid. String was what I was using on everyone, Paladin, Druid, and this. Nature's Peace and whatever, you know, random ring you can find. Gore Riders. You do have to switch onto Water Walks for declone depending on what your helmet is. In terms of helmets for this character, Halberds. It's the best one you can probably find. Can't find a 3-socket one at this point in the season again. But, yeah, pretty easy to find a 4 open socket Doombringer. Eth ones will cost multiple high runes, and I don't need to even explain the cost of Eth Grandfathers. But man, yeah, Crown of Ages too. That's not a bad option. I think that's it's probably like the most slept on helmet in the game. I mean, when you have a role like I have here, it's essentially a 4-socket helm. I mean, that's awesome. For the Fury Druid, I didn't find a 3-socket Jalals, but I don't get the Jalals. It has the hit recovery, it has 4 to skills. What else does it have on it that the Crown doesn't have? Like, seriously. On the Fury Druid? Like, I don't know, man. Bonus to attack rating? Sure. I didn't need the attack rating, though. Man after kill, I didn't need that. Strength and energy, great. It's 4 to all skills. I'd rather have the Crown, and I liked the Crown better on the Druid, to be honest with you. Beyond that, yeah, if you're going charge, I know I'm talking about like 8 different classes here. Grandfather was just fine. I mean, this 5-socket Grandfather, this was not that expensive. I think this was like a 2 high runes or something like that. And that's at this point in the season. I made that. Wapinator found the base, and I just P-boxed it. That was 3 high runes, sure. That was a high rune. And the rest of this you can find for pretty cheap. The good thing about, I guess, the Berserk Barb is the combat skillers are really cheap. I don't even have full combat skillers here. You see I'm missing. I have War Cries because that's what I had in my chest at the time. But even with just, you know, not full life charms, one of the things is just getting to 3k life is just so easy. 3.3k. If I had, you know, you get 4 on this easy. And for Rathma, at least, you probably are going to want an Indariel's Visage. Death's Hand to get your poison, whatever you can to get your poison length reduced. I think that was my setup for Endariel. And then if you can find a snake cord with some max res on it, that would probably be ideal, and you get to 0 there. But also, don't sleep on Leviathan. I was also testing this on all of... I said this was going to be Berserk Barb, but this is sort of like all the physical builds I was playing, the Charge and the Druid. Leviathan. So I know I just said, hey, man... Gladiator's Bane is awesome. It has the Deadly Strike on it, and it has a bunch of flat, too. I mean, that's how you beat, the negative Berserk or negative resistance from your Berserk. But same thing with Druid. Like, when you get cursed, it's like, I'm not used to playing melees, and I hated getting amped. Well, the curse resistance is kind of dope. Really, with curse resistance, you're looking at, blocking amp damage. You can think of that as extra PDR, essentially, because you're just lowering the amount that the curse does to you. I think a 3-socket Leviathan might be my go-to instead of the Gladiator's Bane. Depends on if I can get some Eth weapons with some big jewels in them. But, at a certain point, especially with this class, when you're doing 39% physical pierce, it's like you don't need a whole bunch more damage. I know I say this all the time. Softcore players are obsessed with stat sheet damage. I'm sure someone's going to mention that I had a Tomb Reaver on the Druid, and if I had just used an Eth Cranium Basher, it would have been so much better. Yeah, well, if I had 40 high runes, it'd be fine. But softcore players got to understand at a certain point you're adding sheet damage, and you see these showcases, and it's like, yeah, but you're running a very specific map, and your class dies a lot. I see it all the time in public map games. People just don't have their classes decked out to be able to actually handle anything with some decent damage modifiers on it. So anyway, yeah, and Anti-Torch, Spattering of Life Charms here. So when you're seeing this Rathma attempt, it's bad. I was again, this is the end of the season. I'm about to switch games here, and I had one Rathma token left. I had not tried Rathma at all this season. I was just doing declone, and I said, whatever, we'll give it a shot. It's the end here. Last class I was testing before sort of shutting down, and I just face tanked it. I know it's tier 0, but if a class can just face tank it and past, seriously, phase 2, I didn't even know the mechanics. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. I assume I'm supposed to kill the ads. I don't know how or when the timing of any of the things that are going off are. I don't know what type of damage they are. I assume that's magic and cold damage. And the class just kind of face tanked it. So if I can face tank tier 0 with this, if you're looking for a boss killer, Fury Druid and Berserk Barb are and Charge Paladin. All 3 of those are probably going to be great. But yeah, this one was my favorite of the 3. So I know I said this is Berserk, but when you're looking at physical characters, I know everyone wants to have their specific helm. You want a barb helm, or you want your 3-socket Jalals. If you're on a Druid, don't sleep on Crown of Ages. Don't sleep on Leviathan and Gladiator's Bane. Get off the Fortitude and pick one of these armors here. I think they're just better all around, and the Crown of Ages goes on everyone. So if you're someone who's like me and you're going to be an altaholic, grab this. It'll go on every character. So, see you guys next season.